Hi everyone, my name is Michael Finney, and the goal of this channel is to share the advice that I've gained over the years to help you grow and advance without having to make the same mistakes that I've made over the years. Now, with this video, I want to share the lessons that many successful individuals have shared with me on the topic of worrying. One of the worst feelings in the world is being crippled by fear, where you are unable to pursue your dreams and goals. But don't lose hope. There are 3 techniques that have helped me overcome any anxiety or stress when you start to feel overwhelmed. The first piece of advice comes from Dale Carnegie and his book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Dale explains that worrying is a complete waste of time. No problem has ever been solved by worrying. Rather, problems are solved by rational thought and decisive action. So there's a funny quote Dale uses in the book where he says, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but will never get you anywhere. Now, Dale explains there are 3 ways to stop worrying, and these are based on the research and classes where he taught and had his students write reports on how they overcame their troubles with worrying. The first way, which will help get rid of 90% of your worries, is to write down your worry in detail. This will help gain a complete picture of the situation and then write down those actions you can do about it. After you reflect on those actions, choose the best option with the best possible outcome. The purpose here is to realize there is always some path forward or some action you can take. Now, the second way is to get rid of the remaining 10% of your worries, and Dale explains that you need to imagine and mentally accept the worst case scenario. Again, write down your actions that you need to do, because if you're able to complete those actions, you will hopefully be able to delay or even prevent that worst case scenario from happening. And the last piece of advice Dale provides is to compartmentalize your days. Basically, don't think about the fears from yesterday and don't worry about tomorrow. Just focus on today. Think about the idea of making each day a new life for you and what you can do in the present moment. Life is so precious and we only get a limited amount of time here on earth. So make the most of your time here and capitalize on those opportunities that you have control over today. The second piece of advice that was helpful for me came from Stephen Donier, who is a professional investment manager, author, an actual Guinness World Book record holder. And I'll put a link in the description below from his TED Talk because he holds the record for creating the largest granny square and has developed a notorious reputation as the yarn bomber. If you haven't heard of yarn bombing, that is when you cover entire objects, like a tree, completely in yarn. Now, Stephen explains how he was a C student in school and just couldn't sit still to focus on things until he started to take a different approach in his life. Stephen's approach to achieving his dreams was to break down his problems into small steps. So don't worry about the problems, just break them down into small steps. When I heard this advice, I'm reminded of the old African proverb that says, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Now, I'm not saying you should go out and try and eat an actual elephant. I actually love elephants. I was in South Africa on a safari at Addo National Elephant Park. But the proverb nicely states Stephen's advice: break down your problem into small bites so you don't feel overwhelmed and you can focus on the issue at hand. Stephen explains you want to make marginal adjustments so you can make significant gains. Each step is a tiny step that you need to make correctly in order to achieve your desired outcome. And this is really about a decision to start. While in school, Stephen described how he would break down his homework and how he would complete his reading assignments. He would first just read 1 word, then 1 sentence, then a page, and then a chapter until he found himself finishing his homework assignments. Now, one last point I thought was interesting. Stephen describes a story about how he learned German by listening to audio tapes while walking to and from work during his daily commute. He knew he would be tempted to listen to music instead of German language tapes, so he actually removed all the music from his phone. The idea was to remove all temptation or distraction. As the passage goes, cut off your right hand if it causes you to sin. So figure out what actions are holding you back and figure out ways to remove those temptations that are preventing you from realizing your dreams. Now, the last piece of advice comes from Ray Dalio in his book Principles. As you may know, Ray is a billionaire, a successful hedge fund manager at his firm Bridgewater Associates, and in his book, Ray describes how there are different parts of the brain that have a big influence on us. For one, the amygdala is a part of the brain that controls our emotions. When you are in danger, that fight or flight mode mechanism kicks in, but it actually produces anxiety. Now, thousands of years ago, when we were cavemen, this was necessary for survival. Thankfully, today we are not faced with those same kinds of danger, but on the other side of the brain is the prefrontal cortex. Now, this is the part of the brain that is reflective. The prefrontal cortex helps us analyze situations to make the right decisions to alleviate our worries. When people pray, meditate, or even just take a deep breath, the amygdala part of the brain calms down and the prefrontal cortex lights up. So that's why prayer, meditation, and reflection removes the restrictions of worrying and allows our minds to think. Now, for example, think about the times when you're in the shower or going for a walk. Even though you're not consciously thinking about your problem, the solution will just sometimes come through your subconscious, and you realize the action you need to take to resolve whatever issue you may be worrying about. So remember the benefits of prayer, meditation, and use the practice of deep breathing to calm your amygdala and allow that prefrontal cortex to work on your problems. Now, one bonus tip to explain the benefits of deep breathing comes from the speaker Eric Adamides. Eric explains how deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and short, shallow breaths can have the opposite effect of triggering the sympathetic nervous system, where we sometimes see hyperventilation. So what exactly does this mean? Think again when we were back as cavemen. If you saw a lion in the wilderness, you wouldn't go, "Oh, look, there's a lion." No, you would take a short, quick breath, gasping, or maybe even stopping breathing altogether, because you quickly need to figure out a way to get out of there so the lion doesn't eat you. Taking a short, shallow breath, or even stopping your breathing altogether, puts your body in a hyperactive state, which is sometimes necessary for survival. The body is activating its fight or flight mode. So remember, there is value in just taking a break so you can take some calm, deep breaths to allow you to think about the actions you need to stop worrying. So, as a recap, 1, write down your problem and the actions you can take to solve that problem. 2, break down your problem into small, attainable steps. And 3, use your breath to activate your parasympathetic nervous system as well as your prefrontal cortex to reflect and think through the problem. So do me a favor and click the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you like the video. And remember this saying, pray, hope, and don't worry. Start today. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain.